If I wanted to be a millionaire this year, this is exactly what I would do. If you are smart enough to follow it, I feel confident you're gonna get extremely good results, outstanding results. And I'm about to break down the 9 steps to accomplish just that. Get your notepads out. If you can't pay attention to a video, take notes, then there's a reason why you're clicking on videos how to get rich, right? Because you probably can't do it. I'm well suited to show you how to do it because over the last few years, I've built several multi-8-figure businesses. You guys have watched my rise here on YouTube. I used to post videos of me in a small apartment in Queens, New York. Now I'm living in penthouse, luxury apartment, Miami, right on the ocean, balling, shot calling, living the life of my dreams. And I'm gonna show you how to do it as well. First of all, we need to think, what exactly is a millionaire? Well, a millionaire, according to Google, is a person whose net worth is over $1 million, right? So it's not necessarily $1 million in cash. There's a lot of people who don't keep a lot of cash on because cash loses its value due to inflation, right? So most rich people keep the majority of their net worth in different assets so they can sell for cash if need to be. There's only 6% of Americans are millionaires. That means that 94% of Americans have not been able to figure out how to accomplish it. In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can join us in the 6%. It's way better over here, bro. Everything's better. Food's better. The living arrangements are better. Titties are bigger and the asses are fatter. I don't get sick, but when my girlfriend gets sick, we have the nurse come here. You motherfuckers be at the urgent care with motherfuckers with STDs and shit. It's way better. My son is in one of the best schools in his state. He's fucking killing this shit. This motherfucker, 7 years old, he can tell you the capital of every state in America and the capital of most countries. Right, at 7, you can't do that, right? That's what happens when you send your kid to elite school, but that shit costs money. Come over here, it's better. I'm gonna show you how you can get over here. Join us. So here's what you're gonna learn today. I'm gonna give you the exact formula on how to make, keep, and grow your money. I'm gonna tell you the reason why passive income is kind of a lie. I'm gonna give you the key financial business strategies that millionaires use and how you can use a secret weapon onto your wealth accumulation. Start number 1. Getting rich boils down to one simple rule. You have to make more money than you spend and then invest the difference. That's the key to getting rich. Do that over a long enough time, you will significantly increase your net worth. You didn't click on this video because you wanted to wait 20 years, investing in a fucking index fund, hoping you get rich. We're gonna do it in 1 year. The principle still remains. Make more money than you spend and invest the difference, but you're gonna have to get way more aggressive. That's the thesis statement. Where do you invest it? Well, there's 3 main areas where people invest their money. Stock market. I'll throw crypto in there as well, whatever. But stock market, real estate, and business. Now, first you gotta make money to invest in these things. That's gonna bring it to step number 2. Passive income is kind of a lie. Because if I own real estate, I have to do something to get the money every month. Holler at the property management. Every once in a while I gotta sign some shit, make sure the lights is turned on, shit like that. Nothing crazy, but I gotta do something. It's not passive. The only real passive income where you do nothing that I ever found is buying a dividend stock that pays you dividends out. You really do nothing and you get money. You have to have so much money to make anything significant that it's not a big deal. We don't want to think about getting passive income. What we want to think about is getting leverage. Leverage allows you to make more money with less work. It's not no work, but with less work. So I want you to think about there's 3 forms of leverage. Money. Obviously, if you have some money, you can use that money to make more money. You could buy a bunch of real estate. You buy some stocks that maybe pay dividends. You can invest in a business. Money begets more money if you put it to work. So for example, someone like Warren Buffett, he does nothing and makes millions and millions of dollars from the dividends from some of his stocks, but he had to throw billions in there. But it's leverage. It's not nothing, right? Because he still had to do his due diligence on the stocks. He still had to analyze the financial reports. He still had to make sure that it was a good investment. He did the work up front and he got paid forever, but it wasn't nothing. I got a friend, he made $1 million in 1 month. What he did was he bought a business for $10 million and immediately flipped it for 11. But you can't do that, right? But it's leverage. Money is leverage. It's a form of leverage. Another form of leverage is media. This is the reason why Kylie Jenner is a goddamn billionaire. She had such a huge social media following. She was able to put out her makeup line or some shit, and it did really well. They didn't have to spend a lot of money on advertising because they had leverage, right? Media is leverage. This is why, fucking Kim Kardashian, I heard she makes over $1 million for a shout out. I have 1 million followers and there's people who hit me up every day when to pay me to shout out their brand or do a collab with them because media is leverage. Still have to do some work, but it's way easier than clocking in to a 9 to 5 or some shit. It's easier money. Leverage makes making money easier. This is why you see billionaires like Elon Musk will buy media companies, social media companies like Twitter, right? This is why people are trying to buy TikTok. They can control the media. This is why Jeff Bezos, he went and bought the Washington Post, right? So he can control the media. Third form of leverage is skills. Well, the better you are at something, the more you can get paid for it for the same amount of work. For example, I remember once I paid my best member of my sales team, who had the highest closing percentage. I won't say best, he had the highest closing percentage. He got paid $400,000 one year. Another sales person worked the same amount of time as him, made $100,000. They worked the exact same amount, but one had a higher level of skill, so he made more money. I play basketball, right? But LeBron James is better at it, so he makes more money playing basketball. You jerk off, but you don't make no money of it because you ain't got no big titties. So these are the three leverage. We're going to focus on increasing our leverage to get this milli in 12 months, which leads us part 3. You gotta stop bullshitting and you gotta work more. Because remember, these are 3 forms of leverage. You probably got none of them, or at least not a substantial amount of them. If you got them, then cool, maybe you're ahead of the game. But most of y'all don't have leverage, right? So what we want to do is, we're going to do 2 steps. One, we are going to work more. How much more? I think you should be working 80 hours a week. Now, a lot of you guys are going to start crying. Oh man, what about enjoying life? Me playing crab ass, I'm a bitch. Fucking goofy ass. Clicked on a video on how to make $1 million in a year, but you don't want to work hard? Fuck you. You the worst type of motherfucker. This video wasn't for you. You wanted it to be easy? Is that what you thought it was gonna be? How to make $1 million easy in a year? Motherfucker. Only 6% of Americans have a net worth of $1 million. You want to do it in a year, but you're not willing to work 80 hours a week? I fucking hate your guts. This is not for you. Make peace with that. Stop looking at videos on how to get rich in a year. Extreme results require extreme actions. Those of you who are willing to do that, you're gonna work 80 hours a week. Now, you may be thinking, man, what? I got fucking 37 kids. I'd have told you not to have that many kids. I'd have told you to use a condom. But hey, you are where you are, right? It's gonna take longer for you. Doing it in a year is probably out the question for you, homie. You know, because I don't want you to neglect your family. I don't want you to neglect your health. I don't want you to neglect any of that. I want you to work 80 hours a week while still getting enough sleep, spending time with your family, working out, not neglecting your health. I know, because I do it. I've been working 80 hours a week for like 20 years straight. It's all good. You just got to manage your time. In order to do this, you're going to have to plan out every hour of every day. All right, this is my shit. You see how I get down. I got every hour of every day planned out, choreographed each day. Right? When you do that, you don't waste time. I'm not telling you to sacrifice your family. I'm not telling you to sacrifice your health. I'm not telling you to sacrifice, you know, anything you think is important to you. I am telling you, you're gonna have to sacrifice the bullshit. You're gonna have to sacrifice partying, going out. Maybe you don't watch as much sports. Maybe you don't see every fucking Marvel movie to come out. Maybe you don't get to see every show on Netflix, right? You're gonna sacrifice the bullshit. Right? There's 168 hours in every week. You sleep 8 hours a night, that's 56 hours, which is gonna leave you at about 112, right? You work 80 of those hours, you still got fucking 32 hours to do whatever the fuck you want. What about cooking, cleaning, food? You know, yeah, you got 32 hours a week to do all that shit. 80 hours a week. Why are we doing this? Right, man, because we're gonna build up the first pillar of leverage, money, right? So that's step 1, work more, 80 hours a week, get a second job, drive Uber, whatever you need to do, work after work. Then you're also gonna cut unnecessary expenses. You're gonna cut unnecessary expenses, right? Boom. So any bullshit you don't need, cut that shit, right? Maybe you don't get the new Jordans that come out. You ain't gonna get the new J's. Sorry, bro. Trying to get rich, man. Maybe you don't need that Netflix subscription. Maybe you don't need, you know what I'm saying, all them OnlyFans subscriptions. I don't know what you got going on, man, but cut all the unnecessary expenses. You're gonna cut expenses and you're gonna increase your workload. Your goal is to make twice as much as your living expenses. Because remember, to get rich, you have to make more money than you spend and invest the difference. You motherfuckers aren't working, you're probably working 40 hours a week right now, and you're gonna double that. You should be able to double your income. Plus we cut your expenses, right? You should be able to make twice your living expenses. That's the goal. Now, what are we gonna start investing in? There's gonna be a few things. We're already on the path of building the first form of leverage, money. The second form of leverage we're gonna work on is skills. Because I don't know if you're good at anything, right? You gotta be good at something. We're gonna start studying. That's kind of how you're gonna have to spend a lot of that 32 hours that was left. I actually read like way more books than this. This is not decoration, right? Because I was studying fucking AI wasn't out when I was in your shoes. I had to read, study, buy courses, join masterminds. Once you figure out what direction you want to move in, you need to start building high income skills in order to start making some real money. When you're working these 80 hours a week, you can start getting more money per hour, right? But you need skills for that, because there's two ways to make money. You can make money with your muscle, like doing labor and shit, or even like a bus driver is like moving the fucking bus around. Every once in a while, I see people, I live in Miami, motherfuckers hanging from the fucking buildings, cleaning it like a Latino Spider-Man, right? He's making money with his muscle. Or you can make money with your mind. These are salespeople, programmers, people who work at hedge funds, right? They make money with their mind. You make way more money with your mind, but you need skills for that. To drive a bus, you don't need a whole bunch of skills. So we got to start building up our skill set, right? So you're gonna have to study more, and you can start reading books, man. I post books on here you can read all the time. If you're watching this, you're doing it now. You're consuming good content like this. Join mentorships. I spend over $100,000 a year on education for me. First thing we're going to invest in is studying. Now you clicked on this video because you want to make $1 million a year. All right, cool. Unless you have a whole lot of leverage, unless you have like a whole lot of money that you could throw at some real estate or stocks. All right, so you need business. Business is the fastest way to make money out of the 3 investment vehicles, but it's also the riskiest. So you can't be scared to take the risk. So that's section 5, take the risk. Business is shockingly simple. All you have to do to have a successful business is sell something for more than it costs you to deliver it. A product or a service. That's it in its simplest terms. But you also got to think what kind of business you want to start. You don't want to fuck this up. Anything people buy can be put into 4 different categories. So at the top of this axis, we have expensive shit. Then we have inexpensive stuff. Then we have things that people actually need, like they can't survive without them. Then we have stuff that people don't need. So what would you think about this? When you think about something that's inexpensive, but people don't need it, I would classify that as a motherfucking trinket. These are your fidget spinners, hoverboards, bullshit. Then we have things that people need, but are also inexpensive. These are commodities. Here's your toothpaste, condoms. Then your stuff that people need that's expensive. These are called necessities. You got to have it. Right? This is like a house. Depending on where you live, it could be a car. Some places you can't really survive without a car. Here's where it gets interesting. When you have expensive stuff that people don't need, this is what we call a luxury. Now, this is very important. Everything can be classified in these 3 things. Now, we need to think, why do people buy each one of this? When somebody buys a trinket, it's usually just impulse. They're basing their purchase, really they're basing it off of dopamine, right? They see, oh man, this is a fucking pin that says Ohio on it. Oh my God, I gotta have it. This fucking t-shirt with the anime character on it, right? Just dopamine. Then you have commodities. People buy commodities based off price. The problem with this is when you sell a commodity that people need, but it's inexpensive, it becomes a race to the bottom, right? Because people are buying off price, then people just keep trying to make their shit cheaper and cheaper. The problem with a race to the bottom is you might win. It's hard to compete in that quadrant. Like, let's say you wanted to sell deodorant, you want to come up with some deodorant. Now you compete with fucking Procter & Gamble and shit. They can do that shit at scale. They can get the supplies. They can get everything so much cheaper, right? That it's gonna be difficult for you to even sell it at a profit. The necessities, this is in the title. So it's they make the purchase because they need it. And they're gonna usually base this off of quality. Why do people buy luxury items? This is for status. These people will pay for exclusivity, and signaling. Basically just signaling your status. That's why they call status signals. So here's your options for products or services that you want to have, right? I say trinkets, fuck this shit, because it's one. I just think anything that's inexpensive, you shouldn't sell it, right? Because you have to sell so much of it that that's not a viable option. It's difficult for it to be profitable, and it's cheap too, right? So how much margin is even there? You want to play in the sandbox, expensive shit. You could sell necessities if you're really good at something. If you have a product or service that people need and you're really good at it, then the necessity box can work for you. The best one is luxury, status. People make a lot of their decisions based off status. And some of you are thinking right now, man, I don't make decisions based off status. And you want to type that, and you're doing that because that's going to raise your status, because now you're better than all of us, right? But you're wrong. It goes to part 6. You got to understand status, because we want to sell in this quadrant, expensive stuff that people don't need, but they want it. This is where a lot of money is made, in this quadrant. So the reason we want to learn status and manipulated because you can turn these other quadrants into status symbols. For example, I bought once a $200 toothbrush. There was a thing going on in the 2000s. Dentists were recruiting bottle girls to work at the dentist in New York. It was just some motherfucking bad bitches selling toothbrushes. And I bought one, man. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause it felt right. You know, but you see this with other things like there's real expensive teeth whitening toothpaste. Probably as good as other toothbrushes, but those other toothpaste don't increase your what? Status by making you look better fucking with your teeth. Some people need cars, and some people will buy a car based off whatever the fuck metrics, right? But, you know, so if you want to really make money, man, you know, selling Lambos, that's where you're selling status. Nobody needs a Lambo, but increase their what? Status, right? And even trinkets. If you have an era of exclusivity, then you could turn a trinket into a status symbol. You see this all the time. Apple does this, right? The iPhone has become a status symbol. When I met my girl and we were just friends, I had two phones back then, but I had one of them was an Android, and that was like my personal phone. When I first texted her, man, she saw that green text, and she was like, "Ew," and she acted all crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then I ended up switching, not for her, but I ended up switching to the Apple phone for my personal phone. Now I still have Android, but I noticed the status symbol. Even when I see a green test, I'm like, what the fuck? So Apple has become a status symbol just with the iPhone. But even, you know, the way they present their products in their stores, right? Computers, you can get a really good Windows computer for like fucking less than half the price. You know what I'm saying? Just as capable. You know what I'm saying? But they add the extra sexiness to it. It's become a status symbol, so they're able to charge more, right? You can make anything a status symbol, and it's very important. And you want to think that this is very important. If you can position your product where it raises people's status, not only will people buy more, you'll sell more too, even a commodity. And status is not always like flexing. So for example, this was an advertisement back in the day for peanut butter, and it said, "Choosy moms choose Jif." What they're trying to do, they're trying to say, oh, if you were a good mom, you get this kind of peanut butter. Because moms care about their status as a mom. Every mom wants to be seen as a good mother. They use this campaign to turn Jif into a status symbol, right? It's just fucking peanut butter. You can do anything. You really need to understand this. Status plays a huge role in people's lives and the decision making, even if they don't know it. Here's a study from Dr. David Buss, where he said that people across cultures, people prefer high status partners because it provides better resources and protection and genetic advantages. The higher your status is, the better chance you got spreading your genes all over her face. In fact, another study shows that the human brain evolved to have such a large size compared to our body because of our need for status. So basically, our drive to acquire status actually grew our brains, or the social brain hypothesis and its implication for social evolution. You can read it on your own, nerd, if you want to get more details on it. I'm gonna just show you one more. Another study shows that higher status people are more confident, happy, and influential. Neural processing of social hierarchies, and they raised and lowered people's status amongst a group of others, and they had brain scans on it, and they showed it actually lit up. Anyway, so don't try to fight it. Use it to your advantage. We human beings are hardwired to do whatever they can to improve their status. That's how haters are made, by the way, because there's two ways to make the highest building in town. You can either build the highest building, or you can knock down all other buildings. Basically, when somebody's hating, they see somebody who threatens their status and they need to hate on that motherfucker. They can't help it. So whatever you're selling, you want to find ways to increase the status of this thing so you can sell it for higher margins, and people will be more excited to buy it if it raises their status. If a commodities, you got to convince motherfuckers to do it. Necessities, life's got to be threatened, right? Trinkets, you got to fucking trick these motherfuckers into get it. But luxuries, if you could attach status to whatever you're selling, people will be excited to buy from you. Which also brings us to section number 8, sales. You have to learn sales if you have a business. Because if you're not making sales, you ain't got a business. I have some videos that I'll post a link in the description on some of my best sales books, some ones I like the most. And I also have sales trainings here on YouTube for free. If you've attached status to your product or service up front, even if you're selling lawn care, let's talk about how your customers have the best lawns or some shit, right? If you can attach status to it, it does the selling for you. All you should be doing is asking the prospect questions. Get them to convince themselves. Understand what they really want and present the right solution. That's all you should be doing. But you do need to understand the different sales mechanisms as they relate to price. So sales, it kind of looks like there's a hierarchy, right? So you can have like a link in your bio for something cheap, Like real cheap, the sales mechanism can be like, hey, just a link with a sales page. However, once you start getting a little more expensive than this. Now, expensive is relative. It depends on your target market and what you're selling. $100 is not a lot of money, but $100 for a bagel is a lot of money, right? It's all relative, right? So just keep that in mind. So this is the least sophisticated. You only have links to a sales page if you're selling relatively cheap shit. When you start increasing the complexity, then maybe you step your game up. You do something like a VSL. This is called a video sales letter. You know what I'm talking about. That's why you got to start reading more, dummy. Let's take it up a notch. After this, maybe you need some sort of webinar or presentation. Take it up a notch. More expensive than that. Then maybe you do Zoom sales call. And some real expensive shit, again, it's relative, right? Real expensive shit, you got to do in-person sale. Most motherfuckers ain't buying Lamborghinis off Zoom, you know? Right? When these companies are doing big deals, mergers and acquisitions, they fly to each other. They're not doing this shit over Zoom, right? Because these like $1 billion fucking deals, right? You got to figure out what you're selling, how expensive it is relative to your competitors. Pick a sales mechanism and master it, right? So the skills you need here are, you got to learn copywriting. Basically, you got to learn how to write copy. For above that, though, you got to learn how to do like sales, one-on-one sales. Those are the skill sets. First, you figure out how expensive your product or service is relative to the market. Then you figure out your sales mechanism. Then you figure out what skill you need to master that sales mechanism. But there's one thing that just pokes a hole in all of this. If you have enough credibility. If you have enough credibility, then none of this matters. For example, $100,000 is a lot of money for personal training, like $100,000 a month, right? It's a lot of money. It's well above market rates. However, if The Rock said, hey, I'm taking on 2 or 3 personal training clients, he could charge that much and put the link in his bio because he's got enough credibility. He's the highest paid movie star in the world of all time, super famous, in great shape. He can sell something super expensive with just a link, you know what I'm saying, with a buy button. He doesn't even have to have strong copy. He has so much credibility. The motherfucker who's got enough money to spend on that would know that he'll get an increase in what? By getting The Rock to train him. Status. Who has higher status? The person who says, hey man, my fucking trainer is some asshole from Crunch, or the guy says, oh yeah, The Rock is my personal trainer, right? That's the power of status, right? So credibility just blows a hole in all this. If you got enough credibility, you could do whatever you want. How can you build that credibility? That's part 9. You got to learn marketing. In my mind, marketing is really a combination of awareness and credibility. You got awareness. This means people know who the fuck you are, and you have credibility. People fuck with whoever you are. The people can know who you are, but that don't mean you're credible, right? Like, I know Flavor Flav. I don't want him to be my financial advisor. I won't loan Flavor Flav $30, right? He got no credibility in my eyes, right? So awareness and credibility is marketing. How do you build it? There's 2 forms of marketing. There's direct response marketing. This is like when you're telling people, hey, buy now. It's usually ads, buy now. Then there's branding. Branding is awareness. Branding does most of the credibility build, right? You start building up that brand. That builds your credibility and it makes your direct response easier. The best companies do both. You might be driving down the highway, you see a billboard for Coca-Cola. That's not a direct response ad. They're not expecting you to see that, to be driving, see that shit, like, shit, I need a Coca-Cola right now. That's not the intention. It's just for branding. They just want to keep you top of mind. If I do an ad on Facebook, I'm expecting something to happen. When I make these videos right now, this is just branding. I'm not gonna ask you for anything. Right? This is branding to boost my what? Credibility. If you watch this far, you're like, damn, this motherfucker knows what the fuck he's talking about. See what I did? I'm doing it right now in front of your very eyes. I've been doing it for fucking 14 years or some shit. But it makes the ads work better. Because if you see an ad from somebody you never heard of, better be a good fucking ad and a good fucking product, right? But if you see an ad from somebody that you already know, like, and trust, they built the credibility through branding, then the ads will be more effective. Ask me how I know. The 2 forms of marketing are direct response. To learn this, you have to learn PPP, pay-per-click ads. These are ads on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, or, YouTube, Google. This is the easiest for you to learn right now, right? You're not going to get ads on the fucking radio or TV right now. I wouldn't even do it if I had the money. I mean, I got the money and I don't do it. Now, when it comes to branding, the best way to build branding is with social media, best and fastest. And in fact, if you have a large social media, it makes the ads work better. They convert better. So they actually work together. Boom. And the better your marketing, the easier to sell, right? Because remember, credibility makes it all fucking easier. You get the awareness and credibility comes from the marketing. It's way easier if you've attached status to your product or service, right? But first you have to have leverage to even get any of this shit off the ground. And that comes from money. And it brings us to social media is the last part. Social media is the easiest one to focus on. And it's the most powerful one right now in 2025. If you could follow these steps and implement it and get real aggressive, you can actually make $1 million this year. I've helped people make over $1 million in 1 year. I've seen it happen. I know it happened. These are the steps they took, right? If you want to learn more about the online fitness game, right? If you want even more details, this sounds interesting to you, this sounds like something you can do. I have an ebook called The 10 Commandments of Online Training. Click the link in the description right now. It's 100% free and it goes into more depth than what I was able to do in this video. All right.